Welcome. This is Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. Like I always do, guys, I'm thankful for your support of this channel on YouTube. I'm very grateful, very grateful. I am not going to be here. This brand is not going to be here without you. For your support, Fiifi-Manfred on Twitter, Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube, Fiifi-Manfred on Facebook. You have done an amazing job to support this brand. I'm grateful, very grateful for your support. Thank you very much. If you are new to the channel, my name is Fiifi-Manfred. Tactically analyze a lot of games for you. A lot of the games, the English smelling and across other games as well. A lot of the footballing stuff, post and pre-match analysis. It's best done here. My name is Fiifi-Manfred, and guys, I'm excited to have you here. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel now. Of course, if you do, turn on notification, click on notification bell, and then do choose all. My name again is Fiifi-Manfred. Chelsea's tactical masterclass from Mauricio Pochettino that they tear Arsenal apart. That's exactly why we are here. Stick and stay. I'll be with you in all the analysis. So going into this game, Chelsea knew that they had a job to do. They had won 3 consecutive games since Brighton and Hove Albion, Fulham and Burnley. But then, of course, everybody knew that the job that was at hand against Arsenal was a different task. And tactically, Mauricio Pochettino had to change some things. At halftime, Chelsea were up by a goal to 0. Halftime by a goal to 0. But really, I think that it starts from the starting lineup. Chelsea had some injury scare with Axel Disasi, had same with Reece James, had same with Nicola Jackson, and decided not to start any of these 3 players who have been regular, barring Reece James. And it means that in the lineup for Chelsea Football Club, it became a 4-2-3-1, but essentially, Levi Cole playing for the very first time next to Thiago Silva, Marco Correa left back, Malo Gusto at right back. It really sparked a lot of questions. And people ask themselves, can this get a job done? But you watch the first half, and the first thing you realize is that Marco Correa was brilliant with dealing with Saka, isolating him 1v1. And anytime that you want to deal with Saka, you give him somebody that's very difficult, that's very good in terms of defending 1v1. Marco Correa is one of the best defenders of the ball 1v1. Also, in terms of progression, you need Marco Correa because he loves to come inverted to help in the ball progression of the game. And it was brilliant in that regard. Chelsea did build up the same way that they've been building up in recent times. 4-2. 4-2, sometimes 3-2, when Malo Gusto will push high and wide. Sterling was playing more like a false number 9, marauding in front, and then you have in the middle of the park, Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo, both able to receive under pressure and then play forward. But you watch the first half and realize that it was very difficult for Chelsea to play through central areas. Very difficult for Chelsea to receive the ball through Enzo Fernandez and then Moises Caicedo. He had to always go long to Mihailo Mudryk, who would then combine with Conor Gallagher. And I mentioned in the pre-match analysis that you will need Conor Gallagher's athleticism and then the fact that he can combine on both sides of the pitch to help in progression of the ball. And that was one of the few ways Chelsea could progress down the left-hand side. The overloading and the combination play from these areas, very important in the opening exchanges of the game. Chelsea will overload the right-hand side where Sterling will get to Malo Gusto at some point in time, and even Enzo Fernandez or Moises Caicedo, because they needed to overload certain points of the game and then make sure they progress the ball from those areas. Very imperative in that regard. I think that essentially you watch the game in the first few minutes, one of the things you look at from the Arsenal point of view is that, yes, they made it difficult for Chelsea to play through them, but then Chelsea managed to control the intensity of the game. So Chelsea will shuffle in a 4-4-1-1, not necessarily a 4-4-2. I think it's a 4-4-1-1 without the ball. Now, 4-4-1-1, essentially Chelsea won the game because with the last one, Chelsea essentially have 5 men in central areas to win those balls against Rice and then Jorginho. Even if Alexander Zinchenko was invert into the middle of the park and you drop, Chelsea are still winning, having a numerical superiority. Hence, you are forced to go long and then deal with isolate your fullbacks 1v1. And Chelsea's fullbacks 1v1, Marco Correa, Malo Gusto, were brilliant, especially for Marco Correa versus Bukayo Saka. In the opening members of the game, it was brilliant from Marco Correa in that regard. And that's exactly how Chelsea managed to stay in the game. Now, without the ball, however, I think that tactically, it is the wide overload that led to that penalty. As to if it's a penalty or not, I don't know. That's down to the referees. Yes, it was close to Saliba's hand, but then really, was it goal bound? If it wasn't goal bound, was it too close? How was Saliba going to deal with stuff like that? it was a big deal. But then you knew there was so the consistent overload from wide areas was very, very, very important. So everything that Chelsea were doing in the defense, in the attack, the overloads. But most importantly was that mid block, the mid block where Chelsea sat in a 4-4-1-1. Somebody can say it's a 4-4-2, essentially congesting the middle of the pack and making it difficult for Arsenal to play through them in a central blockade. So there were lots of those central blockages consistently with and without the ball. Chelsea were consistently blocking central areas. Now, in the defending of wide areas, what Chelsea did was to overload those areas. So it was going to take extra legs from Enzo Fernandez from the right-hand side, from Marco Correa, Enzo Fernandez on the left-hand side with Marco Correa. And essentially, that's exactly how Chelsea play. The ball goes to the right, and the two DMs will join and combine from those areas. They need to make sure that they overload Arsenal in almost every part of the game, always finding a spare man without the ball. So it is more like what a lot of teams do with the ball. With the ball, you find a spare man to progress the ball. Now, in this case, Chelsea decided to play defensively with a spare man every time because they knew that technically they were as good as Arsenal Football Club. But how do you find a spare man with the ball? Important. And if you look at the reason why Tomiyasu was brought into the game in the second half, essentially is because Arsenal doesn't want to invert again. Let us leave the space there. Allow Tomiyasu to deal with Sterling, anybody that's going to come onto that wing 1v1 with us, because we believe that he's a better player 1v1, defending 1v1 against Alexander Zinchenko. And that is true. But really, the game in itself, in game state, it hinged on how Chelsea were going to play and how Chelsea were going to manage Arsenal's intensity. So you look at the game and Chelsea were brilliantly managing Arsenal's intensity with Cole Palmer's pulsar, constantly knowing where to pause, when to hold on to the ball, when to push it, when not to push it, when to stick to the game. Very, very, very important one in that regard. And that's exactly how Chelsea stayed in the game for a very long time. Now, in the second half, if you look at the Mihailo Modric goal again, it comes from another overloading. Arsenal, so you look at that picture, Arsenal are building up. Ben White has pushed very high and wide. Chelsea overload them from those areas. Immediately, they overload Chelsea overload Arsenal in those areas. They make sure that they win the ball from there. Immediately, Gallagher wins the ball. He carries the ball forward. And then Mihailo Modric from deep, because he went away to go and defend, overlapped Conor Gallagher. And that was a brilliant goal. Yes, a lot of people will say he didn't mean it. He wanted to play across. There was nobody in the box. I wondered why you think he was going to play across. But that was a brilliantly dinked goal from Mihailo Modric. And he meant it. He wanted to score that goal. He planned. If you look at his body positioning, you can't tell me that was just a cross. He wanted to get that ball at the back of the net. He spotted David Raya off his lines and then got a job done. Now, it was around this time I was expecting that you bring on a certain Kai Havertz, then you take off Bukayo Saka because he wasn't really enjoying the game. Then you take Gabriel Jesus from outside to worry Marco Correa, to force him into getting a card or something, because really that's where the game was going. Arteta doesn't do that. Still stick with the game plan. Chelsea gets the second goal, and now it was just all about Chelsea getting the job done. So when I tell you there was a tactical master stroke from Mauricio Pochettino in terms of central blockage, it is in using the 4-4-1-1. Brilliant stuff. Sometimes forming more like a diamond in central areas, blocking central progression, and then overloading wide areas. Now, he knew that if Chelsea does this better, when they have the ball, they just have to also overload Arsenal from wide areas. If you have Alexander Zinchenko inverted, you overload them and you have the ball consistently. You just need somebody in the box. And the top three players from Chelsea, Mihailo Modric, Cole Palmer, and Raheem Sterling, are all tactically very, very brilliant. So you have a team like this. Tactically, you are set to play in that direction. Then you pin them together and make sure that you get a job done. So Chelsea were brilliant in that central blockade. And for me, that's exactly how Chelsea won this game and made Arsenal toothless. Centrally blocking Arsenal in that 4-4-1-1, 4-4-2 if you want it. If you think that Gallagher and Palmer were in the same zone, you can call it a 4-4-2. I think it was essentially a 4-4-1-1 without it, where most of the times Palmer will lead it, Gallagher will be right behind him, because Gallagher wasn't almost every time in that fair zone of press. So it was brilliant display, and that's exactly where Chelsea got that all-important London derby success. Yeah. Well, so you see the point where Declan Rice's goal goes in, and a mistake from Robert Sanchez. I mean, that is where the problem for Chelsea is. For Robert Sanchez also, how to keep calm when Chelsea are getting things done right, and not necessarily to get over yourself and then make silly mistakes. That is what Chelsea. That's when I see Chelsea squad building isn't where it is expected to be. Then you talk about, okay, where the team is. Chelsea squad building has some issues, and it's issues like this. You are leading by 2 goals to 0. You don't necessarily need to play the ball into a crowded area when Arsenal are chasing the game. So Declan Rice just gets the best out of Chelsea. For the very first time, Chelsea forced things and then they get the goal. That is the difference between where Chelsea and where Arsenal are. And from then, it was about how much Arsenal can do to force the issue, forcing the issue. Most important thing when they were playing it since Declan Rice's goal. And that is exactly where the game was going. But yeah, I mean, it's how football is these days. These days, when you are playing or watching football, when you are playing the game, that's the minute second in between a decision and no decision from you can cause the game. So yeah, but guys, thank you very much for choosing me. My name again is Fiifi-Manfred. I'm grateful to have had you here. I'm very, very grateful for the support of this brand and this channel. Say thank you. I'll see you. Bye bye.